Welcome back to the channel. I hope you're having a great evening or start to your Monday morning here in Australia. Today's video, worst case scenario for cryptocurrencies as we are seeing the FTX exploiter, that hacker that is draining the Ethereum from that platform, now potentially dumping it on the market. So I want to cover the worst cases scenarios for cryptocurrencies and also look at some of the potential hopium, some of the pumps that can go on for altcoins as we now begin to enter that final stage of the cryptocurrency bear market. This could draw out for many months, but what we'll see within this time frame are potential trading ranges, and that's what we'll look at on this particular chart right here. Make sure you've like, subscribe, bell notification icon, the monkey things that YouTube makes us do, and we get a little bit of a firework display here should we click the like button. I'll remind you again at the end of the video if you want to wait. And we have Black Friday specials coming up. More on that later, but essentially this will be the top link in the video description for our education memberships. All right, first things first, fear and greed. The fear has dropped slightly. We've gone from 24 to 21 today. Still not under that 20 mark and still not anywhere near as low as it was in May and June, even though we had a very fearful morning here in the markets as we had news of the FTX exploiter converting millions in Ether to Alameda linked REN Bitcoin token. So essentially they have drained the money off FTX, pulled it into ETH, changed it into REN Bitcoin, then changing that back, selling it off, dumping the market to make off with what they say here is 600 million, but we've also heard reports of 400 million, 250 million. The number continues to change depending on the prices and how much they believe they have stolen from the FTX exchange. Okay, so then we started to see this in real time from the last 16 or so hours. You can see 1, 2, 3, 4 bars. This is a 4-hour chart, 4, 4, 16. Great maths right there. So around $1,220 down to approximately $1,125. Now, this was done in roughly sort of $20 million lots, give or take, maybe 30 million. The point is that this may continue on for some time. The main thing as an investor here, if you are looking to buy up these dips, potentially on some extreme news of more dumps on Ethereum, you've got to be watching these key macro levels. So you got the weekly swing bottoms here at around 880. That was the low in June. And then you have the next level here at about 1100. So if the market starts to close under these levels and consolidate before a potential, you got to see whether it breaks down or breaks up. But basically a consolidation below this level, I would say around 1100, being that it was the previous support of the weekly candles. And then also the swing bottom here at 1000. You'd have to ask yourself whether this is going to get a little weaker again and test those downsides, the previous levels of around 880. If, in fact, it does hold up at these levels, even though the hacker is still dumping crypto onto the market and it holds these levels, then you would have to assume, it's not nice to assume, but we have to look forward to saying, well, there is buying, there is support coming into the market, even though the hacker continues to dump. So you're basically getting enough buying power or enough ETH being burned that is supporting the market. That's just scenarios that can play out. I don't know if that is actually going to happen. But you just have to watch this chart for those key levels for any sort of dollar cost averaging plan that you're thinking about for Ethereum. Should these levels break down, that sort of 880, call it 900, up to around that 1100 level, then the target to the downside is around the mid $600. Crazy as it sounds, that's the next level that we're looking at here. This is where the tops came in. That was around 700. You had a high back here at 630. So around that mid 600s. Otherwise, very briefly, maybe around that 800 peak that happened in April of 2018. So there are a couple of levels further down for ETH in terms of a percentage from where this currently is to the downside of the major low, 22%, and then to the top side of that 600-ish range, the mid 600s is around 40-odd%. So still a reasonable amount there, but nothing dramatic as what we've seen from that $3,600, $3,500 top all the way down to the 880. All right, so on to the worst case scenarios for cryptocurrencies through this accumulation stage of the market, which is the way I'm seeing it. Just working off the Bitcoin dominance chart, what has happened in the past. This is not to say that we have to see it happen exactly the same, but just in terms of more around time frames and movements of the market. So what I've got here is the monthly chart of the market cap of Bitcoin dominance. Yes, it does include stablecoins, so it's not as effective from what I can understand anymore. However, in terms of the movement, the flow of the chart itself, still okay. Just one last disclaimer on that. It does not mean that the chart has to move up to the exact same degree as what has happened in the past. More or less, I'm just looking for moves up, moves down, moves up, moves down. That's all it is within a particular range. So going back to the low, that's the low of the December 2018 cryptocurrency low. We had 4 bars. So these are all monthly candles. So 4 months to this low point here of April 2019. What we're looking for here are the times, how long cryptocurrency had been down for, when it's best not to be in cryptos, and other times where, for the hopium, we could see micro altcoin pumps within this range. All right, so I think the first things first, let's get a measure from the bottom to when Bitcoin started to break down again. And that was January 2021. This is the Bitcoin dominance. Bitcoin went on a big run, but so did altcoins, and altcoins absolutely crushed Bitcoin during the first half of 2021. So all in all, from that Bitcoin low and the cryptocurrency market low, that was December 2018, then to the peak, that was 25 bars, essentially 25 months, call it an extra month over 2 years, 25 months, 2 years and a month, okay? So that whole period was easier. You weren't going to get the most gains, but it was easier to remain in Bitcoin because Bitcoin took the majority of the dominance through that period, then lost it very, very quickly. However, within that period, what I want to look at here, it's from the low to the peak, that was 9 months. So 9 months, that was the all-time, or the cycle low to the peak. And what we want to do then is break it down into micro alt pumps. So if we are in fact seeing a low on Bitcoin now or next month, then what I would look forward to is just a matter of months for Bitcoin to reclaim the dominance. Doesn't mean that altcoins won't increase in price, but they will potentially lose Bitcoin value. So it's going to come down to, do you feel safer in Bitcoin, or do you want to take that gamble in altcoins? Maybe they remain stable with their Bitcoin values, and if Bitcoin goes up 20%, the altcoin also goes up 20%. So you're not winning, you're not losing. You're just taking more risk remaining in that altcoin. So that's what we're trying to look at moving forward from this point. We're establishing that the low is potentially coming in very, very soon. This quarter, next quarter, quarter 4 of 2022, quarter 1 of 2023. And we want to look forward to how long until we might see some sort of significant pump in altcoins. That's what we established first, probably about 25 months, probably about 2 years from the low based on what we've seen in the past. That's for a mega altcoin season, this sort of thing. However, within that altcoin season, within the accumulation period, we saw a DeFi summer. So how long from the bottom until we got to a DeFi summer? It was about 17 months, 1.5 years until we started to see DeFi take off. And we got very, very big gains within DeFi during this period here. That whole period lasted 4 months. So it was a quick altcoin season. It was a solid altcoin season. It was there was a lot of gains to be made within that season, so it was very reasonable to be trading that. So that's the next piece of the puzzle. That was further down. Let's get closer to where we currently are, and then also look at any sort of downside for cryptocurrencies as a whole in terms of the market cap itself. So the Bitcoin dominance, we can now play with any of the month periods through here. We've got the low, then we've got the next peak here at April. This is where the dominance took over. So some money started to flow back into cryptocurrencies. That is through this period here of the Bitcoin low. So if we look at from where the Bitcoin low was until Bitcoin started to run, that was a peak of June. And just going back to the timeframes here, that peak came in September. So basically, Bitcoin held the dominance until September 2019. And then it started to lose some of that dominance. So that brings us back to this bar right here. And then within a few months, Bitcoin started to drop. Altcoins held out a little bit longer. So I would see these particular periods here, where we're looking at right above this level, as the point where it might be a little bit safer to start dollar cost averaging into altcoins. You've got a few little micro altcoin pumps in here. Anytime this chart drops, that would be a little mini altcoin season. And you just got to be careful that they're not too small, because it could be a very, very short-lived move in the altcoins. If we move this to the low here, that means it's about that 5-month period. So it's probably the longest period that Bitcoin will take dominance from altcoins during this accumulation of alts, BTC, ETH, etc. So going to be on the lookout for this particular period here. This is the first move out of the lows where it potentially freaks the market out. Bitcoin takes back a lot of the gains that it's had in the past, and then it starts to distribute out to altcoins after the peak comes in, after a few months go by, and then the altcoins have a little bit of a move here, maybe for a month or two, holds out, and then another month or two. That's what we're looking forward to in terms of the micro alt pumps. Once we establish this low in Bitcoin, might have a few months holding out, trying to figure out what's going to happen next. Is it the low? Is it not the low? Do we start to gamble in altcoins? Then what we see next is Bitcoin take the market by surprise, possibly take back some of that dominance. Could be a lot, could be a little bit, but this would be the main area that we're looking for Bitcoin to take the most time in terms of taking back the dominance. So that would be the next period after here. And how that could look is anywhere, any sort of low that we get around these levels between that 11 and where we currently are at around 16K. And then it would start to break out of the bear market downtrend and test some of these higher prices. That could be over the course of this quarter, next quarter, maybe even quarter 2 of 2023 before we finally pull back a little bit. We got to figure that out. It's still a long way away. It's mostly from the dominance and then trying to figure out when would be the next best time to be getting into an altcoin pump. So over to the altcoins themselves in terms of the downside here, we're getting closer to that mark now, according to what we've seen in history. Downsides on altcoins, 92%, top to bottom. This obviously included stablecoins back in the day, but stablecoins weren't very much of the market cap. However, now they're around that 145 billion. So yeah, we're using a round number here, 150 billion from the peak down to where we currently are. That gives us a 73% drop. This pink line here is the total cryptocurrency market cap minus the stablecoin. So it's an indicator that we've come up with here just to be able to exclude BTC and ETH, which is what this chart is, but also exclude all the stablecoins. And that gives us a reading here of approximately 170 billion is the current market cap of altcoins, excluding stables, Bitcoin, and ETH. Now to the downside, looking to the left for any sort of support and resistance, should we draw a line in here at about these tops or these lows before the market took off? We're going to look at this figure on the side here. That's going to give us a number of about 80 billion. So if we have 80 billion in altcoins, approximately 140, 150 billion in stables, that would give us a total market cap, excluding BTC and ETH, but including stablecoins. Getting a bit confusing here. That would be about a 220 to 230 billion dollar. So then we look at this left-hand column here and drop this one down to about that 220 to 230, the 80% from the top, and the current downside from where the market currently is to that similar level is approximately 26, 27% to that 220 to 230 level. So in terms of overall market cap, downside for the altcoins, approximately, I would say about 26, 27%. That would leave altcoins at about an $80 billion market cap overall and 220, 230, including stable coins. So that would probably be one of the worst case scenarios. For some reason, if it was to get anywhere into this zone here between the 160 and 220, it sounds like almost it couldn't happen, because if it got to 160, you'd have to have one of the stable coins go bust. So maybe a USDC, a USDT, something big has to go bust in order for that to give enough room for the altcoins. Because you think logically, if this went all the way down to 160 and 150 of that is stablecoins, that only leaves you with 10 billion left for altcoins. That includes things like Binance, Doge, XRP. I can't see that happening this cycle. So I doubt this is going to get anywhere near as low as 150 or 160, including the stablecoins, unless a stablecoin goes bust, one or two of them goes bust, in which case that would be absolutely damaging, completely catastrophic for cryptocurrencies if one of the two major stablecoins went bust. So that's why I'm ruling out that potential scenario unless one of those went bust. And I'm looking more towards this sort of 220 to 230 billion dollar range, which is only about, like I said, 25, 26, 27% away from the current prices. You work this scenario in all of the altcoin market caps, in with the potential dominance scenario, along with the Bitcoin bottom scenario, and look at the timing, now we can start to see that we're probably not too far off any sort of potential sideways movement for Bitcoin and altcoins together, which would lean a little towards having some small pumps into altcoins. That was the 2018 low. You had 1, 2, 3, 4 months into the next low. So there could be a 2 to 4 month window here for altcoins to have little pumps here and there. So some good trading opportunities, in which case maybe about 9 months away, meaning that this might be into the summer of 2023 for the Northern Hemisphere guys, basically our winter of 2023, before we start to see any other sort of little altcoin pumps that are going to be greater than the Bitcoin pump. Remember, altcoins still went up dramatically in this period, but Bitcoin took a lot of the gains, as we can see clearly from the data on the chart. So they're the timeframes I'm looking at. There is some hopium within that. I'm looking forward to the middle of 2023 for this sort of thing, maybe earlier, late Q1, basically early in 2023, for some sort of movement out of these lows for Bitcoin, a significant enough move. That only leaves us several months away. So if you were planning to leave the market, don't leave too soon. Come back and check your charts once a month. And while you're checking your charts once a month, go back and check your YouTube subscriptions. The link's at the top of the video description. Black Friday coming up this week. Don't go anywhere. Things are going to get interesting very, very soon, even though we had a little bit of a boring weekend. That's crypto. I hope you're having a great one out there. Like, subscribe if you found some value. I'll see you back here at the next videos. Watch these ones that are popping up on your left-hand side. Big stuff that I put out over the weekend, especially with the macro environment, what's going on over there as well. Much love to you guys. I'll see you at the next one. Until then, peace out.